You're listening to Your Brain on Air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
Estás escuchando o teu cerebro em directo. O programa começará em breve. Que o disfrutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I'm your host, Ollie Vogt Larson. And folks, last night, whether or not you like him, it's really, really hard not to argue that last night was not a bit of a slam dunk, honestly. From Ilhan Omar, she had a bit of a moment. She was shouting, "You killed Americans!" And then he distracted, he wasn't going to bring up Epstein, obviously. That was not a thing that was going to come up whatsoever because he was going to focus on the economy, focus on how the inflation rate's gone down, technically speaking, but Americans aren't really feeling that the economy's, in the high ups as of late. Anyways, whatever. He brought out the Olympic gold medal hockey team. I watched it live last night, and I remember coming home and saying to my fiance, I was right in the middle of right after he mentioned Minnesota, and I go, he is on fire. He's like a fucking rock star. They must have him pilled up on amphetamines again. He was just going hard. I remember distinctly saying, this, whether you like him or not, is a great watch. I want to review some of my favorite moments and come to a truly centrist's point of view. Only common sense thinkers is the people that I want listening to my show this episode, folks. I analyzed this thing, top to bottom, quite frankly. I watched it with every lens that I could. Now, I believe I believe that this, maybe whether or not you thought it was a great showing last night, it was an embarrassing showing for, sadly enough, the Democrats, because he managed to embarrass them. He managed to just lay on the grease stick and then strike up a fire, and then he fired up the grill last night and he roasted him. It sucked, but I'm going to review some of those moments for you guys. Let's begin our story now. Oh, the State of the Union. Let's begin with a few of my favorite clips. This moment made me cheer out loud. The moment that he started doing it, I was in the car. I was watching it live, and I was in the car driving home, and I was going, holy shit, he actually gave the state a shout-out. He gave the state of Minnesota a shout-out. And guys, where he goes with this... Oh, when they cut to Ilhan Omar, oh my god, I was delighted. To see her uncomfortable, she's got the nice little wrap around her hair, whatever she wants to do, I don't judge her for that, but her level of uncomfortability when he brings up in his words, I love that he uses this, Somali pirates of Minnesota. Guys, we're on cloud nine, we're in heaven, let's begin. Let's begin. He was mentioning the insider trading thing that he wants to pass.
Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay.
Which, yeah, great, pretty good idea. I don't think anybody's against that. Even Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, stood up for that.
I wasn't sure if anybody even on this side was going to applaud for that. I'm very impressed. Thank you. I'm very impressed. But when it comes to the corruption that is plundering it's plundering America. There's been no more stunning example than Minnesota.
Woo!
Members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. Oh, we have all the information.
Yipes.
And in actuality, the number is much higher than that. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. This is the kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation, and we are working on it.
Hell yes. Hell yes.
Tonight, although started 4 months ago, I am officially announcing the war on fraud to be led by our great Vice President J.D. Vance.
Well, maybe not the best choice, but I'm glad that there's a war on fraud now. Oh, they cut to her, and she looks so uncomfortable. This is divine. To see her grimace, to see her uncomfortability. Listen.
We'll get it done.
Yes. Keep going.
And if we're able to find enough of that fraud, we will actually have a balanced budget overnight. It'll go very quickly. That's the kind of money you're talking about. We'll balance our budget. The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception.
Not the exception.
Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and...
I didn't expect him to go full on like, hey, maybe the Islamic cultures are, maybe there's something inherently wrong. Guys, this was epic, honestly. Whether or not you're in favor of any of his other policies, whether or not you like what ICE is doing and whatnot, you have to be a fan of the fact that he is acknowledging that there are genuine cultures of barbarity. There are genuine, unfortunately, this is not something that we're happy about. It's a reality that we have to recognize and live in, that unfortunately certain cultures don't live with the same values. Certain cultures live in cultures that have values of honor killings, rapes at rates that are exorbitant. You know what I mean? I don't think that it's a hill that people are willing to die on, which is exactly why it was the perfect thing to target.
Parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA.
Yes, it does.
And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime.
Yep.
We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games. Delilah.
King shit. Listen. That's iconic, and it's good. That is good policy. I don't give a shit who's saying it. It's good. We don't want criminals here. We don't want them. Who can disagree with this? This was, by the way, brilliant politicking to make the perfect situation where you look bad if you disagree with it. It was brilliant politicking. Definitely wasn't his idea. Oh, yes. Here we go. This is, listen, I've always hated when people use children as political grandstanding opportunities. I always hated that, and I hate it no matter who's doing it. You gotta admit, though, when someone does it well. He pulls in this little disabled girl who was almost killed by an illegal immigrant driving an 18-wheeler, I think it was. That's literally the words he uses. And then, because this person couldn't read road signage, pulled in front of this person's car. This child, obviously, he'll explain the story.
5 years old in June 2024 when a 18-wheel tractor trailer plowed into her.
I will say that this is great politicking only because he uses a personal story to advocate for genuinely good policy. Genuinely good policy, and if you disagree with this policy, I would love to hear arguments in the comments as to why it's a bad idea, like whatever.
Stopped car traveling at 60 miles an hour or more. The driver was an illegal alien let in by Joe Biden and given a commercial driver's license by open borders politicians in California. Doctors said Delilah would never be able to walk or talk, have a good life. She wouldn't even be able to eat again. So large, she is now in the first grade learning to walk, and she's here this evening with her dad, Marcus, a fantastic man. Delilah, please, you are a great inspiration. Please stand up.
All right, applause break, and then he presents the policy.
Thank you, Delilah. Many, if not most, illegal aliens do not speak English and cannot read even the most basic road signs as to direction, speed, danger, or location. That's why tonight I'm calling on Congress to pass what we will call the Delilah Law, barring any state from granting commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens.
Who would in their right mind disagree with that? This is brilliant. I'm so sorry, but how can you disagree with that? All right, anyways, I'm going to get to probably what was my favorite moment, which was his call out. He addressed the entirety of the Congress Hall, and he goes, this is brilliant. This is literally game show host techniques. He goes, if you agree with this statement, stand up. And he says something that is so inherently agreeable that the moment that any Democrat chooses not to stand up, they have lost the plot. They've lost the plot. Let's review this clip.
One of the great things about the State of the Union is how it gives Americans the chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe. So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
Bam. And this is so embarrassing. Not one Democrat stands up. Maybe like one or two on the side that are like near the center, but not one Democrat stands up. This is embarrassing. It goes on for 30 seconds, 45 seconds. It's a straight minute. Senator Mark Kelly looks so uncomfortable. Fuck you, man. You were never going to be president. You just killed your shot. Oh, this is so good. This is cooking. This is cooking. Do you know why this is cooking? It's going to force the Democrats to get real about these issues. It's going to force them to actually acknowledge, okay, yeah, maybe there's some immigration issues that we need to address. Okay, yeah, maybe we do need to focus more on the American citizens rather than people who are looking to come in here. I think this could actually be a good thing for the Democrats because a moment of shame, a moment of public shame, a moment of embarrassment is a key motivating thing, especially if you're motivated by embarrassment and shame. This is just juicy. This is so good. This is embarrassing. Not one stands up.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself.
And then they start to yell. I want to go back a little bit so that you can hear what she's screaming. She's screaming, "You've killed Americans." That's what Ilhan Omar is screaming.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials
Hell yeah.
who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Woo! Cook! Cook. USA, 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 USA. I voted against him and he's got me shouting USA.
And perhaps most importantly, I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act.
He's just going common sense policy after common sense policy after common sense policy. It's like win after win after win. This was the strongest moments that he had this whole night. Strongest moments.
To stop illegal aliens and others who are unpermitted persons from voting in our sacred American elections. The cheating is rampant in our elections.
And then he goes off on a tangent. It's rampant.
Simple. All voters must show voter ID.
Awesome. Who has an issue with that? If you don't think black and brown people can get voter ID, you're the racist. Hakeem Jeffries.
Voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote.
I don't see an issue with that. I don't think anybody does.
And no more crooked mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. None.
Bam zinga.
And this should be an easy one. And by the way, it's polling at 89%, including Democrats. 89%.
It's a hugely popular policy. It's not even because it's being supported by people who think that the election was stolen in 2020. It's being supported by people who want to secure up elections for the future.
And even the new communist mayor of New York City, I think he's a nice guy.
Communist mayor.
Bad policy, but nice guy. Just said they want people to shovel snow. They got hit hard. Wants them to shovel snow, but if you apply for that job, you need to show 2 original forms of ID and a Social Security card.
Wow.
Yet they don't want identification for the greatest privilege of them all.
That is
voting
silly.
in America. No, it's no good. No good.
No good.
Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly agree on the policy that we just enunciated. And Congress should unite and enact this common sense, country-saving legislation right now, and it should be before anything else happens.
Well, there you go, folks. I mean, this is moves like Jagger. This is like, he's got his rock back. He's got the jive. Is that what the kids say? I don't know what they say. Whatever they say.
The reason they don't want to do it, why would anybody not want voter ID? One reason, because they want to cheat. There's only one reason. They make up all excuses. They say it's racist. They come up with things. You almost say, what imagination they have. They want to cheat. They have cheated. And their policy is so bad that the only way they can get elected is to cheat. And we're going to stop it. We have to stop it, Judge.
Oh, but they cut to poor Amy Klobuchar and Chuck Schumer. They look so uncomfortable. I mean, all right, let's go to the Irina Zarutska clip. Do we have... Yeah, okay. So Irina Zarutska, in case you're unaware, the Ukrainian woman who was stabbed in the neck by a black gentleman on a public bus in Nashville, I believe it was. There's a video of it. It went very viral. A lot of people get emotional when they watch it. I just, you view it and you're like, this is typical city bus activity. And then basically he had their parents there. He had her parents there. And once again, another moment of getting people to cheer for the idea that her killer will be held to account and that there will be, they'll do their best to avoid future situations like this because that gentleman, because of certain policies and whatnot being let out on no cash bail, all this bullshit, he was not properly being held in the cell like the societal nuisance that he was. Certain people can't be saved. Certain people can't be rehabilitated. They just belong in a cage and they should be away from us. That's what prison is for. I think a lot of people forget that. A lot of people think that rehabilitation is the key thing that prisons are about. No, punishment is the key thing that they're about. Justice is actually the second most important thing that they're about. And then, you know what I mean? Punishment is key. You're there to be punished. That's what it's all about. Anyways, he has their parents there. He has her parents there. And then he has this iconic moment. Once again, I don't understand why Democrats cannot simply stand up for these people who lost their daughter. Go ahead.
We're honored to be joined tonight by a woman who's been through hell, Anya Zarutska. In 2022, she and her beautiful daughter, so beautiful, what a beautiful young woman. Irina fled war-torn Ukraine to live with relatives near Charlotte, North Carolina. And by the way, what's going on with Charlotte? Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash bail stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. Mrs. Zarutska, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina.
She kind of looks like Ghislaine Maxwell, no offense. I think it's just the haircut. She's sitting next to Erica Kirk. Can't wait for the new Candace Owens series about her, by the way, going into the... Never mind. How do you not stand?
How do you not stand?
Agreed.
Here with us
that was just an embarrassing moment once again. It's unfortunate. One of the weaker moments was where he showed clearly what bothered him. The Supreme Court decision. He got a little whiny about it. It was giving like, my friend is being such a bitch energy. I haven't seen this energy since high school where it's like, you know when your friends are disagreeing and you're just kind of in the middle of it and you're like, well, fuck, I guess, I'm sorry that you guys are having troubles, but it's like, but you're forced to kind of give an answer about like whether or not you're still beefing with that person or whatever, and it's like, this is just uncomfortable. It was like watching that. It was like watching two of your friends fight.
Then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court. It just
Supreme
came
Court.
Came down. Very unfortunate ruling.
Very unfortunate pronunciation of Supreme Court.
The good news is that almost all countries and corporations want to keep the deal that they already made.
I love how he had the Supreme Court sitting in the front row. Obviously, they always do, but they just look very, very, very uncomfortable.
Right, Scott? Knowing that the legal power that I, as president, have to make a new deal could be far worse for them, and therefore they will continue to work along the same successful path that we had negotiated before the Supreme Court's unfortunate involvement. So despite the disappointing ruling, he's powerful, country saving. It's saving our country, the kind of money we're taking in. Peace protecting.
Even though it was unconstitutional because the Congress has the inherent right to tax, the president is just an executor of the Congress's will. Not a lot of people like to remember that part about the presidency, that he is an executor of the country's will. He is not a setter of the agenda like a lot of people suppose that he is. Sure, he can come into office with an agenda, but whatever public policy is put forth, he has to enact. That's just...
Many of the wars I settled was because of the threat of tariffs. I wouldn't have been able to settle them without. We remain in place under fully approved and tested alternative legal statutes. And they have been tested for a long time. They're a little more complex, but they're actually probably better, leading to a solution that will be even stronger than before.
Even stronger than before. And then, of course, there was the moment where... this gentleman, I forget his name. He is Representative Green. Yes, he was ejected because he kept holding up a sign that said, "Black people aren't apes." I would say this, not like who said that they were. Who said that they were? I'm curious who his sign is referring to and against. They're escorting him out because he keeps holding up the sign and shouting. He picks up his cane. He's got this long ponytail. Well, there you go, folks. I mean, crazy night. Like I said, if you wanted a more honest State of the Union address, we have that in the clips and whatnot. We have that from the prior episode. And speaking of the prior episode, I promised y'all our next story would be involving Praxis. We're going to do a deep dive into this nation state that's been proposed by the wealthy. I want to get into that, ladies and gentlemen. It's our second story. I hope that you enjoyed our State of the Union coverage. If any more comes out relating to it, or if anything else interests me about it, I'll talk about it later this week. I don't care. It's only, is it Tuesday or Wednesday? Am I nutty because it's Wednesday? Yes, it is. Yes, indeed, it's Wednesday. You know when you just lose track of the days? Sometimes that just happens. But anyways, let's begin with our next story. Go! In case of large-scale societal collapse in the West, we are taking a deep dive into Praxis. I mean, if in case you don't know about this, maybe buy a ticket, maybe buy some sort of, I know that they have citizenship packages, but what am I talking about, Praxis? You don't know what it is. You might be unaware of it. This is a high-stakes project. It's being described as the world's first digital nation. A lot of people during the pandemic got used to remote work, but a group of tech elite entrepreneurs and venture capitalists were using their time to plan something far more radical, a sovereign, tech-forward city-state designed to bypass the bureaucratic gridlock and social unrest that they believe was exposed by the COVID-19 crisis. It was founded by individuals Dryden Brown and Charlie Callinan, it could be also referred to as. I don't know how to pronounce it because I've only ever read the second fella's last name. Callin. It's being backed by over $500 million by some of the biggest names in Silicon Valley. It's including Peter Thiel, Balaji Srinivasan, and even the Vilkvos twins, The project aims to build a physical city. No one really knows exactly where. Originally scouted out in the Mediterranean, now potentially planned for Greenland. Interestingly enough, I mean, that kind of hints at some sort of thing when Peter Thiel gets his boy J.D. Vance elected, and maybe Greenland is a property of the United States. Maybe that would make the production of such a city-state way easier. As a matter of fact, maybe that's why Greenland has entered the conversation. Their vision quote, is to create a refuge for the global elite where innovation in AI, crypto, biotech can happen without, quote, regulatory friction found in traditional nations. The philosophy behind Praxis is rooted in the concept of, quote, network state. The idea is of an internet native community and that can eventually transition into physical territory with its own governing institutions and acceleration zones. Critics are arguing that it's raised a lot of alarms, describing it as a form of neo-colonialism or authoritarian fantasies. They argue that this Manchurian-style approach to nation-building seeks to create a parallel society for the wealthy and is completely detached from the legal and social responsibilities of the countries that they currently inhabit. We need to look at a few, honestly, it's not just me talking about it. I'm going to leave a few more things in the description if you'd like to do a lot more research. I am going to play a couple clips that are heavily informative, probably more so than I could ever be.
The internet just found out that tech bros are building a new city. Correction, maybe building a city, and the headlines are ripping it apart. Let's get into what's really happening behind the headlines. Eat Dryden Brown, an NYU dropout, apparently fired from his last job at a hedge fund. Not charismatic, not a businessman, according to the New York Times. You could also claim that he's a utopia visionary. Managed to raise $19 million. Build Praxis, a city based on traditional Western values, merged with modern tech. With the vision of a more vital future for humanity. Designed for residents across industry, technology, and culture. It doesn't sound that bad, right? But according to the Daily Mail, we're not talking about artists and technologists. We're talking about muscular warriors, very thin priests, and portly merchants.
Portly merchants, very thin priests, muscular warriors. I mean, beauty standards, the three persona groups. I don't know exactly what that could refer to. I mean, would I fall into the portly merchants category? I feel like not very thin priests. I'm not a saintly figure. If you're thin, do you have to be religious?
I have no idea what that means. Regardless, how are you going to attract this tech talent? Apparently by luring them with hot girls. They threw lavish parties. Okay, full disclosure, I have gone to a Praxis party.
Oh, good for you.
The assumption that it's because they have no definable skill set, or is it really just a creepy internet subculture? And a lot of the critique, other than the personal attacks, is that they want to build this future city. But apparently they've acquired zero land. This is where it gets interesting because Dryden responds and offered a term sheet from a government. They've partnered with former heads of states. They have a letter of intent to co-develop, and they've chosen a site. With financing. New York Times is laughing about their membership numbers, but they have almost 50,000 people on the wait list.
50,000 people and 1,000 people who have signed up for the Steel Visa. What is the Steel Visa?
People who signed up for the Steel Visa to let you access and live in the city. You have to pay $5,000 to do that, meaning they've generated almost $500,000 in revenue. And the 24 hours after the article came out, the biggest revenue ever for the Steel Visas. It goes on to say that he's never heard of these warriors and priests. A lot of the details about his personal life are actually untrue. So the story clearly isn't over. You can form your own judgments about Praxis. Just remember, if the media comes for you, you've made it to the league of being canceled.
I am not canceled yet, as of yet. I mean, what are we talking about merged with AI? Are we talking about some sort of societal credit score that is being rolled out by these people? Actually, in most instances, social credit is already being rolled out in the West, as proven by Edward Snowden.
If any of these family photos, if any of your activities online, if your purchases, if your associations, if your friends are in any way different from what the government or the powers that be of the moment would like them to be, you're no longer able to purchase train tickets. You're no longer able to board an airplane. You may not be able to get a passport. You may not be eligible for a job. You might not be able to work for the government. All of these things are increasingly being created and programmed and decided by algorithms. And those algorithms are fueled by precisely the innocent data that our devices are creating all of the time, constantly, invisibly, quietly, right now. Our devices are casting all of these records that we do not see being created, that in aggregate seem very innocent. You were at Starbucks at this time. You went to the hospital afterwards. You spent a long time at the hospital. After you left the hospital, you made a phone call. You made a phone call to your mother. You talked to her until the middle of the night. The hospital was an oncology clinic. Even if you can't see the content of these communications, the activity records, what the government calls metadata, which they argue they do not need a warrant to collect.
Of course they don't need a warrant to collect it. Honestly, this sort of stuff, if the government has had it for as long as he's claimed that they've had it, this is being used definitely in the private sector. There's no doubt about it. Your metadata is available for people to purchase online. You can actually find it through many vendors and means. I'm not going to tell people where they can find that sort of stuff. I don't think it's beneficial to society for more people to know about those sorts of things. But anyway... as we move further away from the pandemic, the scale of Praxis's ambition, it's only growing. They've begun recruiting citizens, proposing massive infrastructure projects like the Atlas Spaceport City in California. It's supposedly right in between San Francisco and California and Los Angeles. For the planners of Praxis, the lesson of COVID-19, it was not about fixing the existing systems underneath them. We're going to build an entirely new one from the ground up, tailored for a heroic new elite. That's, I think this is a pretty clear reason as to why we are showing any interest in Greenland. I'm curious as to whether or not they're going to build that Atlas City. Southern California, they realize it's going to fall into the ocean here pretty soon. No core development should be taking place there anytime soon. Like I said, it could all be a mudslide tomorrow. So... where are we going to see new space gear being set up? Where are we going to see new missile sites? Where are we going to see new, underground torture prisons? You're going to see it in like the heartland. People are going to start using North Dakota. People are going to start using Colorado. People are going to start using Kansas a lot more. There's a lot of these underground bunkers that are being used by the CIA. It was, listen, I know that Pineapple Express, is not considered historical record, but when it comes to that opening scene, there are a lot of underground, things that are just like that, where it's like experiments are happening and people don't even realize it. Whatever. Experiments like this are happening. And I'm curious as to whether or not Praxis has plans for us in the future. Whether or not we will be used to, like in Japan, our footsteps will be transformed into electricity. And then those will power our homes, is my assumption. But you gotta remember to basically run as long as you want to keep the lights on for your kids. You gotta be doing like jumping jacks in the kitchen or something for your kids to play the Wii. It's gonna be ridiculous, the power needs that we're gonna need in the future. Anyways, after AI data centers and whatnot, they have to make their own power plants, according to Trump at the whatever it's called, at the State of the Union last night. He was like, we're going to make AI people make their own power. It's going to bring down the cost for everybody. Will it? I don't know, but who knows? I certainly don't. I am no oracle, but I am an oracle for the rapid fire section of today's headlines, folks. There's a lot of stories out there that you need to know about to keep your media diet healthy, and I don't have a lot of time. I don't have enough time to throw, 3 to 4 paragraphs towards every story, so we're going to cover a bunch of them in rapid succession. There's a lot of aftermath after the Supreme Court's decision, whether or not they are going to continue the tariff policies. Some countries realize that he might go even harder on them if they're forced to renegotiate, like he said in the speech last night. Some people are just so terrified that they're going to keep the deal that they've already been given. But who knows where that's going to go in the future. Trump has also, I say he because it's like you don't even have to say his name. He's thanking Iran for halting political executions. In an unusually diplomatic move, President Trump publicly credited Iran for not carrying out executions of political prisoners, an act that has drawn both praise and confusion from across the U.S. political media outlets. The United Nations awaits U.S. payment on arrears. The United Nations publicly stated that it is waiting to learn how much of its nearly $4 billion owed dues owed dues the United States intends to pay, stirring diplomatic and budgetary conversations about U.S. global leadership and funding priorities. Not very fun for us. Hunter College professor under fire after hot mic remark about black students. What? Okay. According to this, a New York City professor has sparked widespread fury after she was caught on a hot mic making crass comments about black students, which education officials branded blatantly racist. Alyssa Friedman, an associate professor at Hunter College, sparked controversy when she interjected a black 8th grade student's concerns about potential shutdown of school over community educator council meeting on February 10th. Okay. Quote, they're too dumb to know they're in a bad school, Friedman reportedly said while her mic was live on camera. Okay, hold on a second. Let's review this footage for ourselves. I'm just reading this for the first time. Forgive me if it sounds a little confusing. Hopefully she makes it a little less confusing with her language. Play the clip.
Another important policy is for me is our speech program. I've been receiving speech services since first grade. I attend the government and two other students on Friday. He delivers lessons and helps us fit those skills into our lessons.
Schools that like they're too dumb to know they're in a bad school. I mean, but apparently Martin Luther King said it. Like, if you treat a black person well enough, they'll know to use the back. You don't have to tell them anymore.
Allison Friedman, what you're saying is absolutely hearable here. You gotta stop.
What? Okay. So he said a little bit. She said a little bit more than the ones about them just going to a bad school. She said something about. Just review one more time for me.
They're too dumb to know they're in a bad school. I mean, but apparently Martin Luther King said it. Like, if you treat a black person well enough, they'll know to use the back. You don't have to tell them anymore.
Martin Luther King said it. If you treat a black person well enough, they'll know to use the back. She is a philosopher. She knows ball, I guess.
Like, if you treat a black person well enough, they'll know to use the back. You don't have to tell them anymore.
Allison Friedman, what you're saying is absolutely hearable here. You gotta stop.
Wow. The silence, the quiet afterward. Oh, this is cruel. This is brutal. This is. My hands are sweating.
Go ahead, baby. I'm sorry.
Me and many other students in our classes and with that students might not be able to have these safe spaces and supports. We should be able to keep our school open. Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody's clapping. Oh my god. Now, she left. She left. I mean, what other response would you have?
The next speaker is Miles Mason. Remind people at home to mute themselves. Remember, as Stephen Sondheim said, the children will listen.
Oh, maybe she was recording a podcast. Maybe she was just trying to be funny, and she was on call. I don't know. I'm trying to think of anything, but man, that one's because admittedly, if it was a joke, God, that's one of the funniest female comedians I've heard in my life. You don't actually. Martin Luther King said it. You don't even need to tell a black person if you just treat them well enough, they'll just go to the back. Dude, come on! Like, if she was on stage with a mic, I'd be like, save it for then. But when it comes to, I think it was a little black girl that was giving like a little reading about like why they shouldn't close school, and oh man, context and the situation, lady, Jesus Christ! Oh, that one was rough to watch. That one hurt. And I'm not even a black brother or sister. That one just hurt my feelings. Oh my goodness. What am I even doing? I'm not that hurt. I'm clearly not as hurt as Martin Short is, because apparently his daughter killed herself. I didn't know that.
After Martin Short's daughter has died, Catherine Short died from an apparent suicide. Los Angeles police say officers found the 42-year-old with a self-inflicted gunshot wound at her home in the Hollywood Hills. A representative for Martin Short says the family is requesting privacy at this time.
Well, yeah, I would assume that they don't want to talk to the media right after their daughter ends it. That's not the most fun environment to do an interview about your new movie that's coming out or something. There's an ongoing DOJ investigation into Minnesota officials. Diplomatic tension and political turmoil has deepened as the Department of Justice is reportedly investigating Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minnesota Mayor Jacob Frey over statements and actions related to federal immigration enforcement protests, adding legal pressure on Democratic leaders in this key state situation. Speaking of Minnesota, there's fraud legislations that are on their way to being passed potentially. I'm guessing that they're going to make it through, but never know about how many people are being paid off in the legislature. Let's have this gentleman run down what our new laws potentially could be.
Minnesota lawmakers are introducing several bills this year addressing fraud directly. Let's get into them. There's two main bills that are focused on creating what's called the Office of Inspector General, SF 3420 and HF1. Now, the main difference between these is that SF 3420 is mainly a framework bill, and it's fairly light on language, but HF1 is a lot more detailed and includes additional oversights into things like grants and grant fraud detection, and amendments to existing statutes. It's important to note that these two bills deal mainly with investigation and fraud detection after the fact. In addition to these two bills, Senate Republicans have also proposed a package of additional bills that would combat fraud, specifically dealing with fraud prevention rather than investigation.
Good
These
idea.
bills include things like automatic audits if human services spending exceeds a certain amount,
Good.
or electronic verification for services received, a do-not-pay list for ineligible recipients, enhanced data matching tools that are similar to what other states use, and criminal penalties for falsifying state paperwork. It's important to note that a lot of these bills are still brand new and not even fully written up yet, so things are bound to change by the time that any of them would be passed. If you want to learn more about what those bills specifically say, and who they're even sponsored by, you can find all of that information on our website. I wrote an article about it.
KTTC.com. Very curious, very good source to get from here and there. Speaking of Minnesota, also, the autism fraud centers are being scrutinized for their unfortunate involvement. And people go, Ollie, when you're talking about it on the show, you're blowing it out of proportion. Clearly, people are running legitimate businesses. You just go, like Nick Shirley, he just went to the businesses at odd hours. Well, why would there be a receptionist at a daycare center? That's just ridiculous, especially one that's getting a couple $1 million from the state. Anyways, folks, let's have this official news source broadcast directly for us. And if you need it, my sources, go to the description.
Some jaw-dropping facts revealed today concerning fraud at Minnesota's autism centers. The legislature's Fraud Prevention Committee met, focusing on EIDBI benefits, better known as autism centers. Prior to the Department of Human Services placing the program on the list of high-risk programs for fraud, they were not legally allowed to perform an unannounced site visit at the 500 autism centers in the state.
Why?
Why? Because when the state legislature created the program, they didn't require autism centers to be licensed. And of the 14 high-risk programs in the state, 6 of them do not require licensing, making it easier for the fraudsters to steal. Now that the state is requiring licenses, how many of those 500 autism centers have applied so far? Only 6. Wait.
Whoa, about 1 in 100.
Raising questions about how many of them offer legitimate services.
Yeah.
On that note, there was a lot of scrutiny in the committee meeting about who exactly is providing medical services at these autism centers. It was revealed that essentially anyone over 18 with some online training can be a level 3 autism provider. These issues leading a GOP lawmaker to warn that there could be a movement to end this program.
Unless this gets cleaned up, and really cleaned up,
And fast.
There's going to be a push probably to get rid of this program.
I'm Lou Ragoose. Follow for more news.
Thank you, Lou Ragoose. How a very Minnesotan name. Lou Ragoose. I like it. Folks, I mean, whether or not you care about Minnesota fraud situations, address it to your heart's content. What's in my heart's content? Is ketamine safe for teen depression? I mean, apparently that's an issue that we're addressing. What are we doing, guys? We watch one of America's beloved stars, Matthew Perry from Friends, drown in a hot tub on this stuff. And we're going, maybe we should use it for children, and if they're feeling sad.
Powerful anesthetic ketamine, now being used to treat some teens with severe depression.
Why?
Everything revolved around being scared and being skinny.
18-year-old Brenna started ketamine 5 years ago after experiencing mental health difficulties, including anorexia, depression, and suicidal thoughts that were exacerbated by the pandemic.
Just smoke weed.
I had tried like the usual SSRI antidepressants, and I had been in like residential treatment, inpatient treatment for like months and months and months, and things were just kind of getting worse.
And then my mom just let me chill out in her hot tub one day, and I almost went under the water, but man, I was in a K-hole and I found myself. I was fucking 17.
It's really declining, and so it was an act of desperation.
Watching her suffer and waste away, her dad Lee looked into unconventional treatments and heard about ketamine for use in patients where nothing else worked.
Wow.
If you want to save your kid, if you want your kid to survive,
you try whatever you can.
You do
Ketamine
ketamine.
is used regularly as a painkiller and anesthetic,
Mm.
but it's now being explored in treatment-resistant depression. And under strict circumstances, doctors do prescribe it to teens off-label. Dr. Phil Wolfson treats Brenna.
We began to use very low-dose ketamine with her, which gave her respite, gave her a timeout from how she was thinking, suffering.
Yeah, I bet it gave her a timeout. That's called a K-hole. It's called a K-hole. Ketamine, it does that to you. It makes you, you feel cold under your skin. It feels like the muscle inside of you is the void, but you don't care because the void is you, but the void is all of us. And it's peace because you literally feel nothing. It's like, oh, you know how you normally feel like doing something? You're either like, I want to do that. Oh, I don't want to do that. This drug makes you feel like, I don't want. I have no wants. But I also have all the wants that are imaginable. It's a mind-bending substance. I bet it really did distract her from her teen depression. If we're gonna do this, why not weed for the kids? Get the kids smoking weed. I want loser freaks like on Freaks and Geeks that smoke weed. They wear stupid Nirvana shirts or whatever, and they not Nirvana, like AC/DC or some shit, and then they like play with drumsticks outside of the high school. I want losers again.
Being in control, being miserable. And that worked, and she just grew and grew.
Brenna had low-dose ketamine-assisted therapy sessions once a month to start.
And she looks
her
healthy
dad
now.
Says her eating disorder started showing improvement after the first session.
We went to the restaurant that was next door to the clinic, and Brenna ate.
She was mad hungry, because guess what? Being in a K-hole do that to you.
She ate a meal, something that she hadn't done in a very, very long time. It was like a miracle.
Because when you trip out and you come back from the Stargate, you're like, oh man, fuck, it's good to be back. Like, can we get some fucking pancakes or something? That's what I did the moment I came down. I was like, all right, like, I'm hungry. Let's go eat. Let's go enjoy ourselves. You know what I mean? You do mushrooms like that. Like, you do mushrooms, and the first thing you want to do when you wake up is you want to eat. Or at least that's me, personally. I just, like, I don't like having an empty stomach on this shit.
But doctors warn there are limited studies in teens and no data on what ketamine may do to the brain long term.
We need more data in adults, and we certainly need more data in teens. Ketamine
Fuck
can
yeah.
cause profound sedation. It can cause dissociation. It can certainly alter your vital signs. It is not something that should ever be done without an experienced professional or not in a monitored setting.
Brenna continued to improve. Now in college, she returns from maintenance ketamine sessions.
She got to go pretend to be, she got to go pretend to be a lesbian. She got to go have a taste of freedom. And now she's much happier because that's how life works out. Sometimes people are depressed. Sometimes people are upset. Sometimes people have a genuine chemical imbalance. Most people are living sad lives where not very much happens to them, and then once they get out in the world and they go out once in a while, they enjoy themselves, they start living life, they start losing that depression, they start actually feeling what people are supposed to feel. You know, when you start out life, you're not supposed to be happy. You're supposed to, be, a teenager who's like, I read Ayn Rand, I read Atlas Shrugged, and now I understand the world. You're supposed to be full of yourself. You're supposed to think that you've got the world figured out. And then you go out in the world and you realize that true wisdom is realizing how little you know.
Every 6 months.
Since I've started ketamine, I've gained like 20 pounds. All of my symptoms are very well controlled now. I no longer qualify for having anorexia or PTSD or anxiety.
Good for you.
I'm just so proud of her and love her so much.
Good for you. I mean, guys, if your kid is having some issues, let's call them issues, get them on ketamine fast as you can. It's better than carbon monoxide. A teen apparently died in Rhode Island. Tragedy, where a college student died from carbon monoxide poisoning because he was charging his phone, didn't realize that the snow was covering up the tailpipe. Think before you act, ladies and gentlemen.
A 21-year-old college student from Rhode Island has died from carbon monoxide poisoning because he was sitting in his car charging his cell phone during the storm, and the exhaust pipe on his car was buried underneath the deep snow. He had no idea that the car was filling with the deadly gas. This is a story that just absolutely crushes me. Years ago, we saw something very similar happen in Boston. A car running with 2 little kids in the back seat while their parents were digging the car out from
the snow. Sucks. Unfortunate. Do we want it? No. We also don't want the American kill line being discussed in China. Do you know what the American kill line is? Kill line is a term in Chinese, apparently. And it refers to that area when you're in a video game and your health bar is limited, it's very low, and one hit is all it takes to kill you. And their theory on Americans is that we have a kill line. We live on a kill line, at least the majority of Americans, because they cannot afford emergencies. They're one step away from bankruptcy. They're one step away from their lives being ruined. The Economist put out a whole article about it. So let's review a little bit.
Dangerously low on health.
Shh.
What is the American kill line?
What is it?
This term has been going viral on Chinese social media.
The hottest term on Chinese social media right now is 斩杀线, the kill line.
It's basically a death sentence. The video game term is used when a player character is dangerously low on health. Once their virtual health falls below this line, it takes just a single blow to be eliminated. Chinese social media users have been using the term kill line to discuss what they see as America's terminal decline. A country where a single misfortune, perhaps a car crash, an illness, or the loss of a job, can lead to complete destitution. Chinese state media has also joined in on the trend.
Of course they have.
Producing articles about the American kill line, supposedly armed with data. Some articles reference a 2024 report that found over 770,000 Americans are now homeless. While homelessness is a stain on the country, it remains an extreme outcome, affecting less than 0.05% of America's population on a chronic basis.
That's tiny.
Other articles also refer to a Federal Reserve report that 37% of American adults would not be able to cover a $400 emergency expense with their savings. But if you factor in people who would have borrowed money or sold something to cover the expense, that 37% number drops to about 13%.
Because we got desperate people.
There is no doubt life can be tough in America, but the kill line theory might be exaggerating the fragility of existence there. So is life any better in China than in America?
Imagine not.
Well, it depends. To China's credit, its medical and drug costs are much lower than the sky-high charges in America. But business failures, by contrast, can be debilitating. China lacks well-developed personal bankruptcy laws, making it much harder to recover from a bad investment.
Very
People
sad.
in China have plenty else to be glum about these days.
Their entire government is something to be glum about, in my personal opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of China, we need to talk about them for our final story, and I know many people, they're going to hear this one, they're going to go, this is maybe one of the craziest things that I have ever heard in my life, but ladies and gentlemen, it's all true, we're going to do it. Let's involve ourselves with our last story. Let's begin. The United States charges 19 people in the Chinese birth tourism scheme in California. California moms are being recruited to bear children for the global elite as part of a supposed Manchurian generation of American citizens with hidden ties to their regimes. Folks, federal prosecutors in California have pulled back on the curtain on a massive legal crackdown, charging 19 individuals involved with, quote, sophisticated birth tourism. This scheme, apparently, according to indictments, operations are designed to help wealthy foreign nationals, predominantly from China, circumvent U.S. immigration laws to ensure their children are born on American soil, granting them automatic birthright citizenship. Now we are going to know exactly why birthright citizenship is being considered by the Supreme Court as being looked at and has been a hot topic as of late. According to reports, they are highlighting a startling allegation, and it isn't just about individual families that are seeking a better future. They're coordinating efforts to create what critics are calling the Manchurian generation. This theory is suggesting that recruiting American women by providing high-end maternity hotels in Southern California, these schemes are effectively embedding a class of American citizens with deep, hidden ties to foreign regimes. These individuals could, decades from now, use their citizenship access to access high-level government positions or influence U.S. policy made from the inside. Investigators describe a highly organized process where clients were coached on how to trick customs officials, instructed to wear loose clothing in order to hide pregnancies, and to lie about their travel plans. Prosecutors claim that some of these baby brokers charged up to $80,000 per client, offering concierge experience that included everything from luxury housing in Irvine, California, to assistance with Social Security paperwork. All right, let's, Daily Mail, please review this headline for
Meet the
us.
suburban moms allegedly recruited to bear children for the global elite. It's not just a handful of women. According to reports, it's a multi-million-dollar empire being built in the delivery room. Blonde, blue-eyed women in America's quiet suburbs are allegedly being recruited for what critics call a shadowy new mission, bearing children for wealthy foreign clients as part of a controversial birth tourism scheme. A recent example is in California, where a state-sanctioned plot by China to infiltrate the United States is exposed to the Daily Mail. Experts call them the Manchurian generation of American citizens loyal to the Chinese Communist Party. By recruiting American surrogates and flooding the country with birth tourists, adversaries are creating a new generation of U.S. citizens with hidden ties to their regime.
This is something you'd hear about in a movie, or your uncle would tell you about, and you'd call him crazy. Because admittedly, it sounds like a movie. It sounds like a plot out of something that could not possibly exist. Unless, of course, you know anything about foreign diplomacy.
To the Chinese Communist Party. By recruiting American surrogates and flooding the country with birth tourists, adversaries are creating a new generation of U.S. citizens with hidden ties to their regimes. The suburbs are the new front line, and the future of the nation is being bought and sold one birth at a time.
That is a curious plot. I mean, the 14th Amendment, it guarantees citizenship to people who were born here. In this case, it has reignited a fierce debate over weaponizing of that right. Weaponizing of that right, I mean, it's not a harsh thing to agree with. As of late, 19 defendants are facing charges of conspiracy and visa fraud. The focus has shifted toward the national security implications. For many, the case is serving as a warning about the quiet suburbs of California becoming an unexpected front in a global struggle for long-term political influence. Let's go ahead and let's have this journalist list off a couple things for y'all.
You and your team have shared this face-to-face with the president and his senior staff, including what the Chinese have been doing for more than a decade, building and training children born here in the U.S. to become good communists, to undermine our democracy from the inside out.
This is, like I said, this is Republican stuff that you'd hear and you'd go like, that's insane. You're saying communists are being embedded in American universities to undercut American, like the American spirit? That sounds ridiculous right-wing conspiracy.
From the inside out.
That is what most people's reaction would be. I implore you to have an open mind.
The Manchurian generation. Can you tell us what you've uncovered?
Yes, Alan. This was very troubling. We have this issue right now that the Supreme Court is going to take up. It's on this issue of birthright citizenship, and that's the idea that if you happen to be in the United States and give birth, that child is automatically granted U.S. citizenship. And I think a lot of people, Alan, think that when that happens, maybe it's somebody that's on vacation or somebody that, came to the United States illegally and has been here for several years and they happen to give birth. What the Chinese have done is set up kind of an industrial scale exploitation of birthright citizenship. And so what do I mean by that? Well, our government has no idea how many people do this every year because they don't keep track of these statistics. And when you're born in the United States, you're given a birth certificate, but it doesn't say what the nationality of your parents are.
Maybe it should.
So the federal government in Washington has literally no idea how many people are doing this. China does. The Chinese Communist Party since 2011 has been encouraging members of the Chinese elite to do this. They ran articles in the People's Daily, which is their major newspaper. There's a large industry that will arrange these things for you. And the Chinese government has actually studied this and has concluded that based on their analysis, every year for the past 13 years, roughly 100,000 Chinese babies have been born in the United States. They get U.S. citizenship, and then they are immediately taken back to China, where they are raised in the Chinese Communist Party system. And so what does that mean for us? Why should we care? Well, they're U.S. citizens, which means when they turn 18, they're going to be able to vote in our elections. They're going to be able to donate to political campaigns legally. They're going to be able to apply for government jobs. This is a massive national security threat. It's a manipulation of birthright citizenship, and we need to be prepared for it because this wave is going to start cresting just a couple of years from now when that first generation starts turning 18 years old.
President Trump tried to shut this down with an executive order, which would have limited birthright citizenship, but lower court injunctions have prevented its implementation.
I doubt that it will be implemented at any large scale, which you can have your arguments as to whether or not you believe that it is. You're right, just because you're born on American soil. I personally go, depends on who your parents are, depends on where they came from, whether or not they're here legally. I think that that actually should be baked into the law. I understand that many people will have their disagreements with it, but you know, we're here to have fun. We're not here to be oracles of the law. We're here to have fun, and I hope that you did have fun, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to come at you tomorrow with a whole new batch. I'm like a baker. Every day I have fresh bread baked for you. You know, this was today's fresh batch, and I hope you had a good time. But ladies and gentlemen, if you want more, please subscribe, ring the bell if you want notifications, like if you liked it. We broadcast Monday through Friday, do it every single day, take the weekends off. We'll catch you in tomorrow's broadcast, but in the meantime, this has been Ollie Vogt Larson with your Brain on Air. Thank you so very much for listening, and bye-bye.